I am proud to be part of Self-Help because of the community we are building for New York's older adults.
I am proud to be part of Self-Help because it honors my parents' survival and their legacy.
Because Self-Help is committed to diversity, equity, and inclusion.
I am proud to be a part of Self-Help because I value the importance of helping seniors live independently in the community.
Because we are able to help our clients in times of need.
Because of the crucial and absolutely unparalleled work it does for 5,000 Holocaust survivors each year.
I am proud to be part of Self-Help because it is an organization that works diligently every day to help older adults live with dignity and independence.
Because of the quality, compassionate home care that my team provides. It is amazing.
The reason I am proud to be part of Self-Help is because the very reason for its formation was to make a difference in the lives of people who are most at risk, most vulnerable, most in need of help. And we continue to do that 85 years later, every day, one person at a time.
Good evening and welcome. I'm Lori Stokes, and I too am proud to be a part of Self-Help and its life-changing work. Tonight, we come together to celebrate a momentous occasion, Self-Help's 85th anniversary. For the past 8.5 decades, Self-Help has been committed to maintaining the independence and dignity of seniors and other vulnerable New Yorkers, as well as providing compassionate care to Holocaust survivors. During COVID, and Self-Help intensified its services, reaching out to all 20,000 of its clients consistently to provide whatever resources might be needed. And more importantly, to make sure that each and every person knew that they were not alone. Self-Help even tripled the number of participants on its virtual senior center, which provides homebound seniors with virtual interactive classes and opportunities for socialization. In fact, the virtual senior center is so impactful that we featured it right here in a segment on Good Day New York. Tonight, we will meet 3 outstanding members of the Self-Help family. Our honorees, Ambassador Stuart Eizenstat, Jeremy Schell, and Brian Marcus. We'll also take a trip down memory lane and discover what makes Self-Help the organization it is today, still here, together. I'm delighted to introduce our host and personal tour guide for the evening, actor Richard Kind, who has entertained us throughout the years on so many television shows like Mad About You, Spin City, Curb Your Enthusiasm, and countless others, as well as dozens of films and Broadway productions. I know you will enjoy the journey. Richard, take it away. They're all yours.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. What an honor to be here tonight and to get this award. First of all, I think Self-Help is such a great organization, so I'm really proud to be here. But to get this award it just means the world to me, and I can't thank you enough. I got to be honest, I don't even know what the name of the award is. What is it? Humanitarian of the Year award? Is it Man of the Year? I don't know. Is most philanthropic on the Upper West Side? I'm sorry, I don't even know what the name is. Can you tell me?
Richard?
Yeah.
You're not getting an award.
Well,
You're hosting.
I'm not getting an award? Really? I dress up like this? And I don't, is there food? I understand no trophy, but all right, let me just, all right, fine. Let's just take it from the top then, okay? Hosting. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you so much. And Lori, thank you so much for that introduction. I am very proud to be hosting Self-Help's 85th anniversary celebration. And I'm coming to you from the newly constructed Self-Help Online Museum, showcasing the history of this phenomenal organization, its invaluable work to the community, and paying special tribute to tonight's remarkable honorees, Ambassador Stuart Eizenstat, Jeremy Schell, and Brian Marcus. By the way, when it comes to remarkable people, there have been literally thousands of generous and devoted volunteers who have lent a hand to Self-Help during its 85 years of service and assistance. And by joining tonight's celebration, offering your support, well, you're joining the ranks of people who include none other than Albert Einstein, who served as a member of Self-Help's board of directors, having fled Germany in 1932. And I don't think you have to be an Einstein to know that that is some pretty good company to be in. You know, speaking of the 1930s, why don't we take a trip way back to the very beginning? New York City, just a few years before World War II. The Nazis are growing in power over in Germany. And a small group of thoughtful, committed citizens are hoping to change the world.
November 10th, 1936. A small group of German emigres met in a Manhattan apartment. Among them was the eminent Christian theologian, Paul Tillich, who would later become Self-Help's first president. These emigres were among the lucky ones, and they feared for the safety of those who had not yet been able to escape the Nazi regime. Their mission? To help those still stranded throughout Europe, even as far as Shanghai. And knowing firsthand how hard it was to begin life anew, they sought to ease the transition for those who would follow. They sent money abroad to pay for food and medical care. They located relatives to help obtain affidavits. One remarkable feat was when, having learned about the terrible conditions at the concentration camps in southern France, they raised funds to feed the internees. 10,000 Jews had been deported and were in desperate need. In partnership with others, Self-Help undertook a venture that led to the liberation of 80 children from these horrific camps. The tedious but committed work went on. Additional volunteers were recruited to help, and Self-Help for German refugees was born.
My grandmother volunteered with Self-Help beginning in 1939. She actually came to the Self-Help offices at the time, and she would hand out clothing that had been donated to refugees as they arrived. She would stand in front of the clothing bin and size people up and determine what appropriate clothing she should hand to them, given what they had. It's great to have an organization that's been around this long, that multiple generations of our family are able to be involved with and support. It feels great to be able to sort of continue the legacy of not only my father, but my grandparents on such a cause that obviously is very easy to get behind.
As the number of refugees grew, money and jobs were in short supply. It would take time to find employment for the men, as many were doctors, lawyers, or other professionals, and needed to be retrained, certified, and licensed. But the women could work, caring for children and helping the elderly. This led to the formation of Self-Help's homemaker and home nursing programs, the precursors of what are today our home care and training programs. Today, Self-Help trains and employs 1,600 home care workers who deliver compassionate care to survivors and older adults throughout the boroughs and on Long Island.
I love Selfhelp. Selfhelp trained us very well. I became a home health aide because I really love elder people, take care of them. When Sona tell me about her story, I feel so compassionate. It's hard to hear that story, what you have been through, painful.
Marcia helps me with everything, whatever I need. She knows what's kosher, she knows what to do. She comes, she does, she's just great.
It's like she has a family, you know. I take her like I'm a mother, I'm a grandmother. She's so nice.
As far as I'm concerned, there's one Marcia.
In the 1940s, Self-Help also began an employment service. And to this day, we still receive grateful letters and even bequests from those who got their first job through self-help.
My mother got her first job through self-help. My parents were very cognizant of the fact that the more recent immigrants who were coming during but primarily after the war really needed substantial assistance to learn the language and to find employment. During my college years in the summer, I was employed at Selfhelp. I was the switchboard operator, and in those days it was a Lily Tomlin type of switchboard. It started as an employment agency, and it grew from that small little employment agency into today being the most significant, I think, agency for the aging in New York with over 20,000 clients. It's remarkable. Both my parents would be floored about the whole thing.
One can only hope that in America today, we have the type of citizenry, dare I say, leadership that's equivalent to what we saw in those who started self-help. Now, that was in the 30s. In 1946, on the occasion of self-help's 10th anniversary, Eleanor Roosevelt said this. Listen to how this applies to today. Quote, "When one has extraordinary conditions to meet, one is given extraordinary capacities to meet those conditions." Now, what the last year has taught us anything, it's that these words and an organization like Self-Help that's dedicated to serving and preserving communities in need are just as relevant and necessary today as they were 2 and 3 generations ago. All right, onward in our tour. It's now the mid-1940s. World War II is over and the Holocaust, thank God, is ended. But Self-Help's work was really just beginning.
Once war erupted in Europe, the flow of refugees sadly slowed to a trickle. But after the war, survivors began to arrive on these shores, broken and traumatized, most without homes, family, or funds. Many were ill and terribly scarred by the horrors they experienced. Self-Help's role became even more pronounced, finding housing and jobs, providing financial assistance, and even 2-week summer respites in the Catskills, as well as a summer camp for children. Most importantly, the Self-Help volunteers provided caring, understanding, and compassion. An oasis of kindness desperately needed as survivors began to rebuild their lives.
Irma Meyer, who was known as Irmchen, that was her nickname, and that's what everybody called her, was a lovely woman from Germany who sort of ran the employment office. She was in charge of the volunteers, including my mother, and she was sort of this ever-present being in Self-Help in those days. She was everywhere you needed her to be, and she was just a lovely, invigorating kind of a person to be working with and for.
My grandmother was very committed and very devoted to Self-Help. She would take calls all the time, and the dinner table conversation was always about clients. It was always about who needed help and what she could do and who could get involved. Immigrants helping immigrants is what it was all about. And my father and my aunt, of course, heard all this and were very involved. And as a matter of fact, we have 3 generations of Mayer family that was involved. My mother was on the board of Self-Help for 30 years, and my father fundraised. My grandmother would be thrilled where Self-Help is today. I can still hear her voice today, sitting at the dining room table, telling us these stories.
People came right from the port to Self-Help, asking where they could live, and they have children to play, so could they go to work.
Over 80 years ago, Self-Help's founders made a sacred pledge to serve as the last surviving relative to victims of Nazi persecution, for as long as there is even one survivor who needs help. And today, this remains our imperative, a promise we fulfill each and every day, one client at a time.
I was born in Warsaw, Poland. Wonderful parents. We were 3 siblings. I was 14 when the war broke out, and my life came to a standstill, but I was alive, because the life of my loved ones were all gone. I was still fortunate. I was left with my sister, may she rest in peace. I am alone in the four walls here at night. Yes, I am. But I'm not alone. With one phone call to Selfhelp, I have someone who listens to me with compassion, with understanding, and I never feel alone any longer.
You know what? You remember that award that I was talking about that I thought I was getting at the beginning of the night? What do you say we give it to Sonia Klein? I mean, talk about Woman of the Year. It's amazing. But all of these survivors that Selfhelp is privileged to serve are pretty amazing as well. Which brings us to our first honoree this evening. Now, he's a man who has perhaps done more than anyone to preserve the legacy and dignity of Holocaust survivors over the last 40-plus years. Let's take a look.
My name is Patty Kenner, and tonight it is my great honor to introduce my dear friend, Ambassador Stuart Eizenstat. Stu's life has been dedicated to public service, serving as Chief Domestic Policy Advisor under President Jimmy Carter and U.S. Ambassador to the European Union under President Bill Clinton. In 2013, he was appointed Special Advisor for Holocaust issues under President Barack Obama, a position he holds to this day under President Joe Biden. And we at Selfhelp see the fruits of his labor every day in the lives of our precious survivors. Please join me in honoring Ambassador Stuart Eizenstat with the Elie Wiesel Humanitarian Award in recognition of his extraordinary advocacy work on behalf of Holocaust survivors worldwide.
Eizenstat was as good as anybody I've ever worked with at just getting the job done.
Well, Stu was kind of a repository of intelligence and, I'd say, political courage. He was not afraid to tackle a difficult issue, even though it might be controversial.
I thought he was the smartest man I'd ever known because it didn't matter what issue came up. He knew everything about it.
He is always prepared, never self-serving, but maybe most of all, he can be completely trusted.
Stu Eizenstat is a fundamentally decent person with extraordinarily high standards for himself and therefore for others.
I grew up in a very Jewish household, one in which the Holocaust was never mentioned. In 1968, when I had served a year in the Johnson White House, I met Arthur Morse, who had just published a path-breaking book called While 6 Million Died. And it disclosed, to my utter shock, how much President Roosevelt and his staff knew and what might have been done to save Jews. And I literally said to myself, if I'm ever in a senior position in the U.S. government, I want to do something to remove this cloud from the history of the United States, which had done so much to win the war, but so little to save the Jews of Europe.
In the late 1970s, Stuart Eizenstat was working in the Carter administration and was one of the initiators of what led to the Holocaust Memorial Museum in Washington, D.C.
The president asked me who should chair the commission, and I said, Mr. President, there's only one person who can do it. It's Elie Wiesel. He's the face, the voice, the spirit of Holocaust survivors. Having awards from Elie Wiesel means everything to me. No one can step into Elie's shoes. He's unique, but it's feeling that somehow I'm showing him how he inspired me to do the things I've tried to do to make life better for other survivors.
And I would say that that was one of the things that Stu helped to originate that has had the most lasting and beneficial effect in our country.
During the Clinton administration, I was ambassador to the European Union. I was reading the Wall Street Journal, and there was a front-page article about dormant Swiss bank accounts that had been created by Jews trying to keep their money away from Hitler's grasp and never returned. And I met with the Swiss Bankers Association, and I said, is it true? That led to class action suits being filed against the Swiss banks, and the final settlement was $1.25 billion. And then it was like peeling back the layers of an onion. The Holocaust was not just the greatest genocide, it was the greatest theft in history. And it had basically been forgotten for 50 years. And I was able to help bring this back on the world agenda. And now I think I've negotiated more hours, more days, more weeks, and more years with German government officials than any living person. In total, I helped negotiate over $8 billion in recoveries.
The German companies have time and again denied any legal liability in U.S. courts.
He went to a raft of countries, identified responsibilities, and got people to pony up. And it was a truly astonishing diplomatic achievement.
Stu knows that there can never be reparations made for what happened. But he knows that it's important as a matter of history, as a matter of policy, and as a matter of the lives of the individuals who were alive and affected by it, that there be some justice meted out.
He's been involved with every major agreement that has benefited Holocaust survivors for over 5 decades, negotiating for compensation for Holocaust survivors, for property restitution, the return of assets, home care. There are hundreds of thousands of Holocaust survivors around the world whose lives are unbelievably better because of the efforts of Stuart Eizenstat. They don't know his name, but they know the results of his work.
The world knows one half of my father as a world-class lawyer, public servant, negotiator. What most people don't know is that he is a better father and he's a better husband than he is a public servant. For him, family was at the center of life.
My dad was like any other dad. I mean, he loved to play sports with us. And despite his public sector service, which was all-encompassing, he was really always there for us. You know, he worked long hours, but we always had Friday night Shabbat dinner. He was always there.
He gave as selflessly to us of his time as he has to the country and society at large.
I have no doubt that if you had time and you went out and interviewed every younger person who worked closely with him, they would say the same thing. I looked at that and I said, yes, I can. I can be in public service and I can still have a good family.
My late wife, Fran, a wonderful wife of 45 years, was my partner in all of my Holocaust work. And when she prematurely passed away, we created at Selfhelp both an award in her name and a special project to give extra help to survivors. And connecting that to Fran, who was the love of my life, is amazingly moving.
I think it's extremely fitting, given her commitment to Holocaust memory, given her commitment to Holocaust survivors.
I can't think of any better way to remember my mom or her legacy and what she stood for than being so closely linked and associated with Selfhelp and the remarkable work the organization has done.
Selfhelp is a vitally important organization, and the work that they do to support Holocaust survivors and their families is irreplaceable.
In 2009, in his role at the State Department, Stu convened a conference of 49 governments to work on property restitution. At the end of the conference, there was a performance, something called Defiant Requiem. It was a multimedia presentation, music connected with a concentration camp. At one point during the performance, Stu looked over at Fran, and with tears running down her face, she said, "Stu, we have to bring this to the Kennedy Center."
And it was really Mom's passion. We are going to show people what a will to live looked like during the Holocaust, and they took it all over the world.
I felt very strongly that the last word for the Holocaust should not be money, it should be memory.
We all lived through history. He's helped create and alter history.
The reason he's my hero is that he applies all of his gifts to service. It's been a service to the American people, it's been a service to the Jewish people, and especially for Holocaust survivors.
Stu has been what a superb public servant ought to be.
You can't define America by race, religion, creed. It's only can be defined in terms of what we believe. Stu gets that. Stu understands that.
In public life, there are no permanent victories or defeats. What is permanent is the quality of your service, the depth of your dedication, and the skill within which you can bring out the best in others. On those scores, he gets about as close to 100 as you could ever get.
Stu, honestly, I don't know how you found the time. I think you were blessed with 25 hours in a day because all these roles, ambassador, policy advisor, undersecretary of commerce, undersecretary of state for economic, business, and agricultural affairs, deputy secretary of the treasury, and people, you know that the list goes on and on, 30 plus more. And that's not even what he's being honored for here tonight. Oh my goodness! I've played Moses. I've played God. I've even played Rudy Giuliani. So when am I going to finally get a chance to play a real mensch like Stuart Eizenstat? Ah, boy. Well, let's move on. All right. This is interesting. Now, I know you're wondering, what is a picture of Muhammad Ali doing at the Self-Help Museum? Hey, this is a pretty incredible story. So it's December 1974, and Muhammad Ali arrives, unannounced, at Self-Help's program site in Washington Heights. See, what happened is apparently he had seen a news report on television that a self-help program which served Holocaust survivors with disabilities had lost its funding and was in danger of closing. So, what does he do? Muhammad Ali wrote a check for $100,000 to keep the doors open. And listen to this. This is what he said. Quote, "Service to others is the rent I pay for room here on earth." Unquote. Service to others is the rent I pay for room here on earth. Now, those are beautiful and wise words from the champ. And this is where you come in. If what you see and hear tonight touches your heart, then please consider making a gift to Self-Help. Just text 929-531-6455 with your name or company name, the amount that you would like to donate, and a message that you'd like to appear on the screen. Okay, then you watch the feed for your message to post live. Again, please text your name, the pledge amount, and the message to 929-531-6455. Or you can simply click the donate button, but I promise you, every single gift is meaningful and it's greatly appreciated. And now back to our tour. As much as Self-Help has long been a vital resource for Holocaust survivors, Self-Help is also so much more than that. I didn't know. Here's just a quick glimpse at the broad scope of Self-Help's indispensable programs and the diverse communities which they serve.
Self-Help was born in response to crisis, and we have continually stepped forward to respond to emerging needs. With the advent of new social legislation in the 60s, Self-Help saw the opportunity to use its expertise to help people of all cultural backgrounds. When the AIDS epidemic hit, Self-Help responded by establishing a full spectrum of home care services to care for those affected by HIV and AIDS. During Hurricane Sandy, Self-Help staff members crossed the East River bridges on foot, brought clients into their own homes, and walked up dozens of flights of steps to bring food and water to homebound seniors. When COVID made it impossible to help our clients in person, we quickly developed new and creative ways to ensure that our clients had the resources they needed to remain safe and healthy.
Self-Help has given us the opportunity to be able to get vaccinated. Sunday, a gentleman called me up and he told me to call on Thursday and they would come and pick me up, take me there, and bring me back. And this came from Self-Help.
From our earliest days, providing housing has remained a top priority. In the 40s and 50s, Self-Help leased various facilities to provide rooms for survivors. In 1964, Self-Help built its first apartment building in Flushing, Queens, which housed 200 Holocaust survivors, in what was the first state-aided project to be built in New York by a nonprofit organization. It was in this location that Selfhelp would establish its Flushing campus with 6 housing residences and a robust senior center. Today, Selfhelp owns and operates 12 affordable housing residences throughout New York City and Long Island, with 6 new projects currently being planned. We are approached regularly by other developers to provide supportive services to their senior housing residents.
Well, my full name is Rosemary Haggerty, and I've lived in this building for 17 years. I lived in Elmhurst, and there was a lot of some trouble there, people breaking into the apartments. My daughter was worried about me. She says, Mama, you have to get out of here. I feel better in a self-help building because I feel more secure. My daughter's very happy that I'm living in a self-help building. She feels I'm safe in here. She's very happy. Well, I like self-help, and I like the people, and I like the social worker. I'm very happy with self-help. I really am. I'm glad I'm in self-help building.
Over the years, the demographics in Flushing have changed dramatically, and Selfhelp evolved along with the community. We now provide vital services to the thousands of older Asian immigrants who make Flushing their home.
Oh, I should say probably Selfhelp the best in Flushing area as I see, because I can see the standard in Selfhelp can make the whole community upgrade themselves. So I always say we want to upgrade ourselves into self-help standard. The senior center probably the biggest senior center in the whole Flushing area, metropolitan area. And they're doing a lot of progress. I want to see the progress. Now when I check into all the housing you're providing, everybody with a smiling face. Self-help have all the social worker, speak Chinese. They have all the Chinese food in the kitchen. You can see that, you smell that. They have all the progress all in Chinese because they have all the instructor in Chinese. They can speak Chinese. So that's the most important key for self-help. Self-help really gives the elders a lot of hope by the end of their years because they really deserve that, and self-help see that. I like that.
As you can see, affordable housing is a major part of Selfhelp's mission. So the logical thing is to hope that a true giant in the real estate world aligns himself with Selfhelp. And indeed, he has. Our second honoree tonight, a giant in his chosen profession, the real estate world. Please watch this.
Hi, my name is Jackson Schell. My sister Olivia and I are so proud to introduce you to our dad, Jeremy Schell, the recipient of Selfhelp's 2021 Lifeline of Hope Award. Dad serves as principal of TF Cornerstone, and he really likes what he does. But what makes him happiest is when he can help other people.
One Thanksgiving, Dad took us to visit Selfhelp's affordable housing residence in Riverdale, where we got to volunteer and spend time with the seniors. It was a very special day. That's why he's so excited about partnering with Selfhelp to create affordable housing for older adults. Selfhelp's work with Holocaust survivors also means so much to Dad, since all 4 of his grandparents were survivors.
Dad has been a role model for us, from philanthropy and community service to his hard work at TF Cornerstone and his recreational hobbies. But he always has time for us. He loves taking us skiing, fishing, and enjoys doing just about anything outdoors. He's always available to help us with schoolwork and tries so hard to be there for all of our games and competitions.
Please meet the best dad in the world, our father, Jeremy Schell.
Jeremy is a straight shooter, honest, someone who actually looks out for the people on the other side of the deal, which is rare in our business.
Jeremy is somebody who is a gentleman, and he's respectful, and he's smart, and he does his job. All those elements are a great combination.
Jeremy's a passionate, hard worker, devoted to his family. He definitely does everything to the fullest and has the strongest work ethic of anyone I know.
What they do at TF Cornerstone is nothing short of excellent.
TF Cornerstone is a family-run business. Jeremy is terrific. He represents the next generation.
We have a housing crisis here in New York City, and we have a terrible affordable housing crisis. It's important to build through this and create housing for everyone. Everybody deserves the right to live comfortably, independently, with dignity. And that's what we're doing in partnership with Self-Help on the waterfront of Long Island City, where we're going to be able to provide 100 housing units to low-income seniors. But beyond that, we're going to be able to create a total of 800 affordable apartments to a wide range of New Yorkers that need affordable housing. And that's an incredibly rewarding thing to be able to produce. This partnership with Self-Help has enabled me personally to realize a dual mission of doing well by doing good.
Jeremy worked very diligently for many years to make this happen. This is a very complicated and very difficult building. Jeremy has diligently followed through on every aspect of it.
Working with Jeremy has been a true pleasure. Self-Help has done a number of buildings, but this is by far the largest and the most unique.
The partnership with TF Cornerstone is a tremendous opportunity for Self-Help. It's an opportunity that I've been excited to see come to fruition for quite some time because of how much I respect and care for Jeremy and the TF Cornerstone.
What we've done together with Self-Help, we created something that none of us independently could have done. It's truly an example of the whole being much more than the sum of its parts.
I think Jeremy and his staff have really done an excellent job, and I think he really understands the need for this type of housing and is committed to it.
Over the years, we've been very active in Long Island City.
We've been involved with some of the NYCHA projects. We've provided scholarships.
We give grants and we support a lot of local businesses.
We've also been a big supporter of City Harvest, who's done such great work through this pandemic.
Jeremy is very socially conscious, particularly, I think, socially conscious as it relates to Jewish causes.
What drew Jeremy to Self-Help is the work that Self-Help does to help and assist Holocaust survivors that Jeremy cares deeply about and would do anything to help.
All four of my grandparents were Holocaust survivors. I think about it frequently, and in a lot of ways it shapes who I am and the values that I hold. What was important to them was giving back, and community service, tzedakah, and those are values that I hold dearly and instill in my children, and hope that their life is even better than mine and they can contribute even more than I have in life.
Jeremy is a very, very devoted, hands-on father who's here for his kids any moment of any day. I think when Jeremy's at work, he's focused on work, and when he's home, he's focused on home.
I met Jeremy at Columbia Business School, where we were classmates. And I did my very best to sit as close to Jeremy as I could, so I learned as much as possible from someone who was clearly extremely talented, very smart, and just an overall fun person to be around. This is a great match with one of the premier builders and one of the premier operators of affordable housing for seniors. And I'm incredibly proud that we are honoring Jeremy Schell, who is a friend and a colleague who has done tremendous work for affordable housing in New York City.
I am very proud of Jeremy, as is all of our TF Cornerstone organization. And I am very pleased and honored myself that Jeremy is being honored by Self-Help.
I am immensely proud of Jeremy and that he is being honored tonight.
He's done really good work, and I wish him the best.
This building is absolutely magnificent, and we are so delighted to be partnering with TF Cornerstone and Jeremy Schell for affordable housing in New York City.
It's an honor to be recognized by Self-Help tonight. As the grandson of 4 Holocaust survivors, Self-Help's mission resonated deeply with me. So when the opportunity came to partner with Self-Help, I jumped at the opportunity because it's rare where your professional life and your personal life and your values sort of come together the way that it did. I appreciate the award and sincerely appreciate the partnership that we've forged for over 8 years together, and look forward to continuing the good work we can do together.
Congratulations, Jeremy, on this wonderful honor. You are a true leader, not just with Self-Help, but also in the real estate world. And I'm not just saying that because I'm looking for a new apartment. But you know what? Okay, well, we'll talk later. Guys, I'll be right back. I think the tour is going pretty good, and I can't tell you again how honored I am to be your host for tonight's virtual museum tour. And you know, for many decades, Self-Help held annual benefit concerts at venues like Carnegie Hall and Lincoln Center, which attracted some of the world's most renowned classical musicians. such as Isaac Stern, Peter Serkin, and Pinka Zuckerman. And since I am here tonight, I am thrilled to be added to such an esteemed list in recognition of having successfully performed moccasin dance at Miss Petty's piano recital in the 4th grade. It was good it was good. All right, it ain't Bob Dylan, but I thought they were pretty good. All right, let's look at the big picture. The world that we live in today, well, it's changing every day. Even tomorrow is going to be so different. Innovation is everywhere. In the computerized world of our children, our grandchildren, it's very different from the simpler world of our parents and grandparents. I have 3 children, ages 19, 16, and 16. Their names are Sky, Max, and Sam. Wonderful children. My nickname for them is technical support. I don't understand computers. I don't understand technology. But thankfully, as the world changes, so too, self-help is always changing. It's always growing. It's always finding new ways to meet the needs of the community. Take a look at what I mean.
Self-help's overarching goal is to keep older adults living in their own homes, not in institutional settings. One of Self-help's groundbreaking programs is its virtual senior center, which began 10 years ago as a public-private partnership with Microsoft and the Department for the Aging. It's a lifeline for homebound seniors and has grown tremendously during the pandemic.
I have been part of the Virtual Senior Center for the last 4 years, I would believe. We're like Cheers, the theme from Cheers where we all love each other and everybody knows your name. The facilitators of the classes, they're marvelous because they take a lot of time and putting their programs together. So anytime that you feel lonely or isolated, all you do is go onto the computer and find a class, and if you don't want to find a class, then you pick up the phone and you call someone that you have contact with, and you just make sure that you are able to speak with them, and every single one of us have an open heart to each other, so we speak, and anyone that needs this program or would love to be a part of it, I would give them a thumbs up any day.
In 2019, I was honored to dedicate one of Self-help's affordable housing residences for my parents, Joseph and Pauline Charrett. It meant a great deal to me. A few years ago, Self-help began to reserve a number of apartments in their buildings for older adults who were formerly homeless. It was a population that Self-help was not experienced with, but they learned quickly and now have a successful model for integrating formerly homeless individuals into our buildings. And they even published a manual on how to do it.
I had been working for SRO, a hotel where they house HIV patients and stuff. I was the super there for like 19, 20 years. I woke up one day, they changed management. Didn't inform me, so now I'm homeless all of a sudden. I got friendly with a couple of the social workers, and then the building came up. The self-help building came up. Oh my gosh, and then I got everything settled, and everything, my life just changed, through self-help.
So a social work in a self-help building, one of the main tasks that we have is to make sure that clients are filling out their paperwork correctly. So a lot of clients have different entitlements. So a lot of times it can be overwhelming for them. So when they get the paperwork, they don't know what to do. So our job is to look it over, making sure they're collecting all the correct documents and making sure it's sent out so that they can keep whatever subsidies, they have. I love working for self-help. I started here as an intern, and I was really happy to get the opportunity to have this be a part of my career.
If any of them are listening right now, I want to say thank you, thank you, thank you. I really appreciate everything you've done for me. It really changed my life.
For Self-help, being a leader means that we are open to trying new approaches that could further benefit our clients. Witness Theater is a perfect example. Self-help brought Witness Theater from Israel to New York in 2012. It's a life-changing program for Holocaust survivors and students who meet weekly over the course of a school year.
Going through the program, I thought I got so much more from it. I was able to build a very personal relationship with one of the survivors, and I'm really, really glad to have met her. I've learned a lot about her, myself, her life, and then she's also given me so much advice. It's been amazing. So I've gone like above and beyond what I was expecting.
What they said to me was an unbelievable thing. It's a must, because our generation is dwindling, really. If people don't know what happened, it can happen again. And this is what self-help is giving people that want to speak about it the opportunity.
I feel it was an experience of complexity and of empowerment that I will carry with me for the rest of my life.
Listen, as an actor who has done 5 Broadway plays, I was Tony nominated. I played Max Bialystock in The Producers on Broadway. I do plays all over the country. Well, you definitely don't have to convince me about how wonderful theater is to bring universal stories to life and just keep them alive for future generations. And there are many ways to make sure that we fulfill the promise of never forget and never again. And our next honoree is doing just that.
I feel extraordinarily privileged to have received Self-Help's Elie Wiesel Humanitarian Award, and equally so to recognize the recipient of the 2021 Fran Eizenstat Legacy Award, Brian Marcus. Most of us know Brian is an exceptionally talented photographer. In fact, there have been numerous articles written about Brian, his father and grandfather, showcasing their remarkably beautiful work. What's most extraordinary, however, is that Brian has found a way to combine his photographic skills with his passion to perpetuate the memory, the strength, and the spirit of Holocaust survivors. The result is a beautiful, impactful book that I'm very proud to have, entitled Still Here, Inspiration from Survivors and Liberators of the Holocaust. So it's my pleasure to introduce the recipient of Self-Help's 2021 Fran Eizenstat Legacy Award, Brian Marcus. Brian, mazel tov on your accomplishment, not just with this book, but your lifetime of putting into photographic dimensions the Holocaust.
Action. Brian is extremely charismatic.
Brian is one of a kind.
Smart, energetic. He can be intense in a good way. Very sensitive, very sentimental, and extremely creative.
Great father, great husband, great son.
Handsome as can be, great hair.
Brian's a mensch.
Who's Brian?
The motivation of Still Here was really because I was upset that I never really connected in a visual way with my grandfather. We had a wonderful relationship, but I never really sat down with him and sort of recorded his history. And for the job that I have and the passion I have, it was kind of strange that I never did that.
My father, Fred Marcus, was born in Breslau, Germany, which is now part of Poland. He experienced Kristallnacht. He was sent to Buchenwald, where he was for some time, was actually helped out of Buchenwald by a non-Jewish worker and given a ticket to go to Cuba. He went to Cuba, all really that he had, a few personal belongings and a camera. He was always an amateur photographer. He went to Cuba, photographed people, families on the beach, and sold those pictures to make some kind of a living. The beautiful thing was that he created these relationships in Cuba and decided to follow those clients of clients of his back to New York. Opened a studio on the West Side where his clients were, and they remembered him. They remembered his photographs. He had a tremendous talent for lighting, for getting expressions. He just had a terrific way.
Brian saw his dedication to his craft. He saw Andy's dedication that came from Fred, and then it trickled down to him. I always say this creative gene went 3 generations, which is shocking.
My daddy takes pictures. My daddy's a guitar.
The passion to really be that recorder of these memories and these moments, especially the real joyous ones, is special to me. And I sort of caught the bug a long time ago, watching my grandfather, my father, and it's always been in my blood. You know, it's definitely something I'm proud of.
I think it means a lot to Brian to continue the business that his grandfather started.
This business was truly always a family business. You can't go anywhere with my opa when he was alive, my dad, my brother, without someone stopping them and saying, you know, you did my bar mitzvah, or you did my wedding, my cousin's wedding, anything. And it's so nice to see it continuing with Brian. So getting stopped and saying, your brother just did my best friend's wedding is an honor.
Recently, a New York City photographer set out to take pictures of as many survivors who are still here as possible.
I heard about the book Still Here when Brian came to me and asked me if I would help him. I think the book is fabulous. I look at my copy often. He gave me a photograph of Elie Wiesel at the event as well that I hang in my home. And it means a lot to me, given the fact that my grandfather's siblings perished in the Holocaust, and so I have some personal feelings about it.
My in-laws' picture in Still Here meant the world to them. And the picture of the two of them embracing with their eyes closed, it showed the love and the warmth that they had not only for each other, but that they were at peace.
The lines around their face showed the years of trauma that they went through, yet the smiles showed the happiness that life offered them. And by Brian capturing that moment of mom and dad together has been with me every day.
You know, the way that I look at photographs is it's a moment in time and it never goes away. And you think about the book, you know, if you flip through it, unfortunately, some people have passed away. But you were able to hold on to the still images and the stories and the pictures of these people.
But he is a fantastic photographer. So it was not just to take a picture. His main goal was to really, and he was able to encapsulate the personality. I personally am extremely honored and very proud to be part of his book. Also, what is wonderful, all the proceeds, the profits from the book, okay, went to Selfhelp.
Brian is a member of the board of Selfhelp, and the whole purpose of Selfhelp is to help Holocaust survivors. Brian is an intricate part of that.
So to have the opportunity to join the board of Selfhelp was a proud moment for me. Selfhelp has been around a very long time, almost the same time that my grandfather started his business. I think my grandfather is looking down on me and appreciates the time that I've spent with Selfhelp, and hopefully it'll last for my entire life. We'll see.
If Brian's grandparents knew that he was being honored by Selfhelp, they would be so proud. I think that is the highest compliment we could pay them and pay Brian.
It's just a wonderful thing, you know, when your children do well, you're happy.
I'm very proud that my daddy's getting this award. I'm proud of my daddy. I'm proud of him, very proud of him. I'm always proud of him, but I'm extra proud of him today.
My parents were so proud to be a part of Brian's beautiful book, Still Here. Brian has captured the essence of the survivors and the strength and determination they had to rebuild their families and their lives. I want to congratulate Brian on this well-deserved award from Selfhelp.
Brian has always been not only an adorable and fun-loving and wonderful young man, but he was always passionate. Whether it's working, he did my children's weddings, whether it's with I see him with his kids, with his family. And most of all, I saw a certain special side of Brian when he was doing this book. And I saw how much it meant to him and how much of himself he put into it, which is why this book is so spectacular.
All I can say is thank you, and I promise to continue to educate and do my best to share my experiences, and really I appreciate the honor. I really do.
That's your lot.
Bravo, Brian, and congratulations. By the way, if you were paying close attention, some of you may have noticed a large black object that looks like this that Mr. Marcus was using in that video. This was a camera. Kids, this is called a camera, okay? We took pictures with this, and we had phones, and we made telephone calls with the phone. And the phone did not take a picture, nor can you talk to anybody with this. But those were the old days when life was easier and nobody had ever heard of gluten. All right, here's something I didn't know, okay? A little factoid for all of you taxpayers out there. The United States Senate has a special committee on aging. In fact, in 2014, Elihu Cover, the former head of Selfhelp's Holocaust Survivor Division, testified before the committee regarding the critical needs of this country's Holocaust survivors, which led to federal funding being made available for the first time ever to help those survivors.
I thank you for the opportunity to come here today to discuss the needs of aging Holocaust survivors and the services that my organization, Selfhelp Community Services, provides to them.
It's just one more way Selfhelp continues to push us forward while never losing sight of the past. We've reached the end of our tour. But one key question remains. What lies ahead, huh? What does the future hold for Selfhelp? Now, in the beginning of this program, we heard a lot of history about Selfhelp. So why don't we find out some answers about the future and check back in with Selfhelp CEO, Stuart Kaplan.
Selfhelp's new models of service have attracted attention from the national and international aging community. Delegations from as far as Australia have visited Selfhelp to observe our comprehensive community-centered programs that enable people to live in their own homes, where every person wants to be. And we are committed to sharing our expertise and best practices through presentations, research, and publications.
Selfhelp is an incredible organization that provides top-notch, affordable housing for seniors, along with valuable and innovative supportive services to help residents live their fullest lives. Enterprise and I are so proud to partner with Selfhelp and support their outstanding work.
Selfhelp is a gem in the home health care system of New York State, highly regarded as a leader and visionary at the service level and at the policy level. It was with great pride that the Home Care Association recently presented Selfhelp with our Quality Award for the remarkable work Selfhelp is doing to help homebound seniors through the Virtual Senior Center. Congratulations, Selfhelp.
Working with Selfhelp for nearly 2 decades, we know firsthand the incredibly impactful work they do each and every day to provide much needed comprehensive services Holocaust survivors in New York City and around the country. Therefore, we rely gladly on Selfhelp's expertise and experience when it comes to working with survivors and honoring their legacy. Thank you for your incredible services and good partnership. Happy anniversary, Selfhelp.
On this, our 85th anniversary, we look back at our humble beginnings and thank those who came before us. And we look to the future. By the year 2030, not that far off, all baby boomers will be 65 or older. And with more and more people enjoying longer lifespans, Selfhelp stands ready to provide our specialized care and services that will enable them to live their best lives at home, and will do it one person at a time. Thanks to our new Melamed Institute, we are building more affordable housing than ever before. And we will also continue to expand our social work, home care, and technology programs to help people remain in their homes. Staying true to our historic mission, our projections show that in 2030, New York will still be home to thousands of Holocaust survivors, the youngest being 85 years old, and so many older still, and in need of our compassionate care. As we step forward into Self-Help's next decade of service, I thank our remarkable staff for the heart they put into everything they do, and our dedicated board members for their support, vision, and forward thinking. And finally, I thank all of you, indeed, each of you, for your meaningful support and trust, things we do not take for granted. We could never accomplish what we do without you. We look forward to each of you being part of Self-Help's bright future.
My name is Raymond Vijay Schrag, and I am proud to serve as president of Self-Help's board of directors. Self-Help has been a part of my life since I was a child. My mother, Susie, volunteered in 1939, and she passed her love of Self-Help on to me. I couldn't be prouder that my son Ben and my daughter Rebecca are also involved. I hope that their children will feel as connected to Self-Help as we do. 85 years after our founding, we are still here and still together.
I am proud to be part of Self-Help because we have provided professional quality care for over 85 years and counting to our deserving senior community.
Because I feel I'm making a difference in the quality of people's lives.
I'm so proud to be part of Self-Help because his work is so crucial for so many people in need, and it transcends generations.
Because of the essential care and services it provides to Holocaust survivors, and for allowing me to honor the memory of my grandparents.
I am proud of Self-Help because we work tirelessly to maintain housing security for our clients and continuously strives to be at the forefront of innovation.
For 4 generations, our family has been intensely committed to Self-Help and seeing to it that all Holocaust survivors can lead a life of dignity and independence for as long as it takes.
Proud to be part of Self-Help because they made a difference for me and my family.
I'm proud to be a part of Self-Help because we are the oldest and largest program servicing Holocaust survivors in North America.
Well, what more is there for me to say? Thank you so much, all of you, for joining us this evening. And yeah, I may have shown up thinking I was going to get an award, but now that I think about it, it's all of you who deserve an award for your support of this crucial and indispensable organization. Now, if you can and haven't done so, please show your appreciation for Self-Help's wonderful work by making a donation via the info that's on the screen. Show the thousands who depend on Self-Help's care and compassion that now, maybe more than ever, and after 85 years, you are indeed still here for them. And we are indeed all in this together. In the meantime, stay safe, be well, God bless. Good night.